All right, everybody. So you got the opportunity to kind of get a feel for what Paige and I talked about in the first episode, the first part of this, but it was so long, we wanted to split it down kind of in half. And so for the second half, some of the things that we talk about, and I think it might be some of the most juicy, information that she can give you, is with her being a female in a male-dominated industry, she has to be tough, right? But she has to be able to also turn it on and turn it off. So we talk about previous relationships. We talk about how this plays up with her boyfriend now, Dustin, and how she's able to balance, being a boss lady, being a boss woman, as well as holding down a solid relationship. So for anyone out there who is like, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to be successful, but I don't know how to do that, listen to this part of the episode, part 2, and you're going to get everything you need to know how to be successful. We talked a little bit about who gave you the empowerment to kind of step into this, because it was your stepmom, correct? That kind of led the way, the CFO kind of led the way there. Now, being in a male-dominated industry, and your boyfriend's name is Devin, you said?
Dustin,
sorry. I knew it started with a D. Dustin. So a question that I feel like a lot of people might have, I know that I had this, is when you have somebody who's in a male-dominated industry, you have to have at least a little bit of toughness to you. How does that play into friendships as well as relationships with him? Have you had any issues in the past before you met him with this whole kind of stepping into this role?
have you done background research or something?
I have not.
No?
No.
That was the best lead up to a question that I have the best story for.
Okay, sweet.
And so I was like, how did you know this? Yeah, absolutely. So before Dustin, actually, I told myself I would never date anyone in the industry.
Okay.
Again, I'm trying to have that respect.
Yes. Right.
And so my previous relationship and Dustin were the only ones in the industry, and I'll tell you why. So I was in a serious relationship, engaged, had my whole wedding planned, and this was March 2020. Or I'm sorry, this was during 2020 and 2021.
Okay.
He was in the industry as well. He had a full-time job, but then firearms were his hobby, but we were both on Instagram. We were both shooters. He helped me with a lot in the industry with gaining my skill as well. But during COVID, interestingly enough, obviously everything was shut down. So I was home a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, me now, I'm eating home 1 or 2 days a week.
Okay.
Getting jobs everywhere. I'm flying places. I need to be at certain places. I'm needed, so I'm gone a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was home in 2020, I was working at the stores. This is at the same time as I was becoming a full-time instructor, which was amazing. He wanted to instruct as well, so I could tell a little bit of jealousy was there.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, well, we're a team. I'll help you get your own situation, your own instructing, and then we had different students, totally different students, so right, we'll work together on it. I think it'll be great. He didn't like that, and so I didn't even think anything of it, because again, this was a time where I didn't have my full confidence in myself. I wasn't challenged very much. It was just still learning what I'm doing with my life. And 2021, I was supposed to get married March 21st or March 28th of 2021. And it was so crazy, because this is the start of things opening up. And I started getting more jobs. I started getting asked to fly and do specific events or range days or teaching, events, speaking. And I could definitely see jealousy. The jealousy was coming out, or I wasn't home as much because I was, everything was open. And so I was working and going places or working extra. And there was definitely jealousy there. And so I'm planning this wedding. And then I get a call from Turning Point USA. And Turning Point USA is, for anyone who doesn't know, is a young conservative group. And they're on the front lines of schools.
It's a great group.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're educating them about conservative values. And so I'm the firearm girl for and the 2A girl for Turning Point. So they reach out to me and they want to do a show with me. And it's coming out this year. I'm so excited. We've been filming it forever. So they want to do a show with me and they want me to be one of their contributors. Huge, like huge opportunity. I was like, this is like the change where I'm like, this is what I meant to do.
Would it be safe to say it was the turning point?
Huh?
Would it be safe to say it was a turn? I had to. But
Yeah.
good, so.
That was painful to listen to, but yes, it was a turning
point. It's a dad joke, I know.
It's fine. So it was around the same time in January, and I was like, there's definitely jealousy. I need this. This is like the time where I need the most support. I remember saying, I need support in this, and I wasn't receiving it. So planning my wedding, and I remember like driving home from work is about a 45-minute drive of like, just something doesn't feel right. I don't know what it is. Something doesn't feel right though. And at the same time, I'm working with my boyfriend now, Dustin. Again, super professional. I had no idea. We weren't attracted to each other, and I'd known him for like 7 years. We maybe saw each other like 3 times. And I'm working on this social media app with him and beta testing it. So, but I'm like, something just doesn't feel right. Like I'm not on the right path. One foot is on it, but I'm not fully on it, and I don't know what it is. And so I just remember like I'm big with like signs and numbers, and I'm like, I just need a sign. Like, just show me a way, whatever. We're working. I'm going through all this, and February 6th, my dad gets hit by a car.
Allah.
And that's a total story. He's totally fine now, but
good. Oh my gosh.
He would have died if he wasn't wearing his motorcycle helmet. So he got off his motorcycle to help a vehicle, and a car hit him. 55 miles an hour. He got hit, thrown into oncoming traffic. He would have died if he wasn't wearing his motorcycle gear.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So he, because his motorcycle gear was so strong and so good, bougie with his gear, we're grateful for now. His head was completely fine. He had gloves on, so he had no cuts, no abrasion. He had a shattered pelvis.
That's hard.
Pelvis shattered.
Yeah.
So that, talk about turning point. This was, he was in the hospital for 14 days, in and out of ICU. We had to transfer him hospitals because the hospital that we were at was terrible. We knew basically the head of security at one of the other hospitals, and we're like sneaking into ICU to see him because of COVID.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that.
My stepmom will not leave the hospital. Not leave. She's like, I can't. Her eyes are sunken in. She has eaten. She has drinking. I'm like feeding her. We are sleeping in the parking garage of the hospital in downtown Phoenix. So I'm bringing pillows and coolers and snacks and blankets so that she can feel comfortable because she will not leave the hospital. I'm like, well, I'm not leaving you in a parking garage. So what are we gonna do? So I'm dealing with that, and at the same time, I'm not getting support at all. If anything, I'm getting more pushback and drama at a time where I need to be there for my dad and my son and be there for my family. And I'm getting scares like he had a heart procedure that we had no idea. My stepmom ended up catching it, and he should have gone into cardiac arrest 2 days prior. And so I'm dealing with all this, right?
Yeah.
And I just had like a wedding band, like a super cheap wedding band from Etsy. Like it was we were going to elope. I didn't want I didn't want any of that. And so we get into this massive fight. My dad goes into the heart procedure, and the next day, as a olive branch, he decides to give me a custom engagement ring. The same day of my dad's heart surgery. And so it was a big deal. I had no idea what to think. Long story short, this big event of my dad's accident was like that. Oh.
Yeah.
If you're not going to support me in this, there's no way that you're going to support me in anything else. And so if my dad's accident, he had to learn how to walk again.
Yeah.
And with the schedule of events, it was 6 weeks before my wedding. And so he had to learn how to walk again. He's 50. And I said, I'm not getting pictures of you in a wheelchair because you're going to be in a wheelchair for 6 months. So I'm not doing that. So we ended up postponing the wedding. And then all of this stuff, the turning point, the making sure my dad was, improving and being able to walk and helping him with all of that, and teaching and working full time, and all this stuff is opening up. My jobs are getting bigger, and in every way, shape, or form, I saw every single sign that I needed. And it was oh my gosh, you liked it when I was quiet at home and that you succeeded. But the moment, and we say we're going to support each other, and then you say, or you see me step 1 foot in front of you, and it's just a wreck. And I was like, I've got to get out of this. I have to. And I did. I called off my wedding and moved home 24 hours later. Done. Ripped the Band-Aid off. Done. Yeah. And I'm so grateful. And I'm grateful for like that person. I'm grateful for what I've learned in that relationship.
Sure. Yeah.
I wouldn't have such a good relationship with Dustin if I didn't experience that relationship.
Yeah.
But holy smokes. Like, and I realized in myself that because I was with this person, that I said no to a lot of jobs. I was willing to drop, because I was told, you're choosing your profession over family. You can't choose profession over family. How dare you? You're selfish. And I was like, but I love it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. Like, I can balance and feel like I love it.
Yeah.
And then I realized, no, I need to stand up for myself, and anyone who can't handle what I do, because I do have a strong personality.
Yeah.
I do demand attention when I go into a room, or command attention, and I will be quiet when I need to be, but I also will stand up for myself when I need to be. I have the backbone for that, but I don't need to show it to everyone. And so it made me learn that I need to have backbone in relationships. Yeah. I need to stand up for myself, and I need to be okay with the idea of, if you're not going to support me, this is what I need. And if you're not going to do that, whether I'm this high above you in the professional, right? Or I'm the breadwinner, but what happens in 5 years and something changes and you're the breadwinner, like, or vice versa, or who cares? Like, let's support each other in it. Yeah. And I realized I needed that. I needed that more than anything in a relationship, and nothing was gonna, just because they say it doesn't mean they mean it. Maybe they don't even realize that they can't handle it, but that was very eye-opening to me and a huge learning experience. And then I meet Dustin, and Dustin's like, go do this, I got you a job, and we're going to fly you out here. And if I can make it, I can, and I'll be there, and I'll hold your jacket, and I'll make sure you have water. Complete opposite, which is so amazing. And I'd realized, like, in the year that I've experienced that, it's, holy crap, has my opportunities and my confidence level and my ability to, like, stand up for myself has just skyrocketed. My happiness, my joy, my everything, like, it's so much easier. There's no stress. Because I have so much support at home now. So it's crazy. And I'm sure, like, with any industry, with any couple, or with any person, it's like, if you guys are in the same industry or a similar industry, I'm sure it's difficult for men to see their significant other exceed them, especially if they weren't exceeding them prior, and then they surpassed you. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I'd be curious. I'm sure it's difficult for couples.
Yeah. I know that my sister and her husband, they're both attorneys out in Maryland, and my sister just opened up her own law firm. And my brother-in-law is super successful. He worked with Bloomberg. Like, he was on Bloomberg. He like was on TV and stuff. He's very successful, but he basically knew going in the relationship that my sister had a higher earning potential than he did. And he's basically like, all right, let's do this. Let's get our kids. And we have the kids. And now, like, he's in the realm where he's like ready. He's like, all right, Shauna, like, do your thing. I'm here to support you. Whatever you need, I'll take care of the kids. I'll help you with the business. So there are some couples that can definitely handle it a lot better than others. And then to be in the shooting world, like attorneys, that's one thing. Like there's like when you think about an attorney, you might think it like the picture that comes to mind might be a guy, but like you also that there's women in there too, and
Yeah.
and that in the shooting realm, for you to then exceed a man who's also in the industry, who sounds like, I don't know him, but I'm going to judge, sounded like he has some inner insecurity that he was unaware of. And then the more you shadowed him or overshadowed him, it in a way shined a light on him and his insecurity, and he just started trying to peg you and get you down. Just go, no,
Bring me down
because
here. Yeah. I need to bring you down here with me.
or below. We just like you to just sit there, be quiet. And I'm glad that Dustin's all doing that. He's breathing life into you, and ultimately that's what relationships should be. And I see this a lot where like it's a weird phenomenon, but I take care of a lot of Amish patients, and the culture in the Amish is like that. Like the women are just supposed to just sit there and not speak. Like they're not allowed to initiate conversation or speak in their churches, in certain churches there. So it's like a really weird dynamic. But then to see somebody like yourself or somebody like my wife who's like very vocal and very confident, it's like in a way these women are like, oh my gosh, like you can do that? Like I'm allowed to be that way? Like, yes, do that, step into it. And so kind of a follow-up question into that, you kind of mentioned that you do it, but how do you find the balance, right, between the masculine energy where like the domination versus like the feminine energy where you're kind of softer, you're sweeter? Like how do you do that so well?
In a professional setting or relationship?
Both.
In a professional setting, I like to get to know my students and anyone that I'm working with, or I just like to listen. I want to sit down and I want to feel it out. And then I'm kind of a pretty good judge of character where I'm able to see like who's able to handle what. In my lessons specifically, I mean, I'm speaking to mostly women, and it's like I want to have empathy and I want to listen to them, and so I'm very attentive to that. But if I'm working a job, I always start off just professional and nice, and have a little bit of a wall up, and that way they're able to see that. So, just very, hi, nice to meet you. Like, I'm very business. Let's get to business.
Okay.
Let's make this happen. And by that time, I'm just like observing people.
Okay.
I can tell, especially in this industry, like I can tell who wants to know me or who has an ego.
Okay.
And if they want to know me, I will talk to them and I will completely be real. And for instance, this week, I mean, I'm contracting with this other training group in Arizona that's incredible. And their head guys were like, the owner came in and said, we're hiring her. And he goes, we looked at your Instagram. We were like, oh crap. Like she's just another girl with a gun. And he had both of them. I spent about a day, an interview and then a day with them this week. And they both pulled me aside and they were like, you're totally different than what we expected. We had this idea of you. We made this impression of you before we even met you, because of everything that I've talked about. And they said, you're real and you don't need attention. Like you level with everyone. Like I don't go in seeking attention from anyone. I'm very secure in myself. I love myself. I know like business is business. And so I do that. And when I need to stand up is mostly in my classes when I'm teaching men. For instance, last week I taught a security guard company. And a lot of them think they have military law enforcement background. Those are the worst people to teach, especially as a young female. They're like, she ain't teach me anything. This isn't happening.
Yeah.
And I also will not go in and be like, you will listen to me, right? So it's just, no. So I talk and teach. And one of the head managers or something, head directors for training comes in and he picks up on this guy in the corner, which by the end of, this is day one, it's 2-day course. By the end of afternoon of day one, he has sat in the corner away from everyone else. He has looked forward and he has not paid attention to what I'm doing the entire class.
Yeah.
And so for me, my idea is I'm going to rip them a new one, but I'm not going to rip a new one in front of the class. Like it's not going to make the impact that I need. I said, I normally just wait for the range. I wait for when a gun is coming in because that is where my knowledge soars. And so I let them do their thing before, that way I can be like, okay, are you going to listen to me? Like it's that, hey, are you going to do this? So that would be like honestly, I just like know, I don't know. I've learned how to turn it on and off.
Yeah, it's kind of fluid for what it sounds like. It's not, it could be situational, it could be relational, and you're able to kind of feel out the scenario as to whether or not you need to be more tough, or you can just be like, oh, cool, let's just shoot the shit.
Yeah. And it depends on the person. It depends on what they're willing to do. And it does not affect me because I know that they will figure out who I am or the type of person I am regardless. So they can do that on their own time. I don't have to force it down their throat. In relationships, though, I have learned that I am way more masculine. I am way more business, and like I'm not messing around at work in the industry. And when I come home, I'm a very independent woman. I want to figure it out. I want to, like I might suck at doing it, but I'm going to figure it out and do it on my own. I don't need anyone to help me. I want to do it on my own. And so that's been a learning experience of like when to turn that off in a relationship. And I don't want to wear the pants in a relationship. Like I want to be the woman and be taken care of when I need to, and have, he's a very masculine man. Like he can do everything, and he's so crafty. And so when he offers help in the beginning, I was like, no, I don't need help. Like I've got this. He's like, hey, like calm down. If I'm not trying to say that you're not able to, but I would like to help you because he gets fulfillment out of that. And I was like, oh. And then I realized that I learned so much. So that was the biggest learning curve for me, is when to turn it off, and in a relationship versus work. That's been a learning curve for me, and I'm working on it.
It's always going to be work in progress. I mean, you're still younger in it and in the relationship, but it sounds like you guys already have better communication than like 99% of the population. And I know that like when Megan is trying to do something on her own, and I learned, we've been together, I think she said it's going to be like 9 years now.
Oh,
but like thanks. And it's like when she's struggling with something, I just go, I'm like, do you want me to help you, or do you want me to just like sit by? Like I'm only going to ask this one time, and then it's up to you to come to me if you need help or support.
Yep.
So
exactly.
it's just communication.
Sometimes I need to like, us women want to figure it out, but also know, okay, I give up, come help me.
Yeah.
No, I'm totally the same way. That's fine.
Gotta love it.
I know.
Well, so segueing into really like, for people who are listening to this, you talked about how you travel everywhere. You train pretty much everywhere. If somebody was interested in training with you, do they have to be local? Are you able to fly out to them? How does that look if somebody's listening, like, I want to train with Paige?
Yeah. So all of my availability for local clients is on my website. It's somechickWhoshoots.com. It's also on my Instagram. That has my availability for Arizona. Now, I have flown out to places, and it looks a little different. So, for instance, if someone wants to fly me out and do like a private class or something, I absolutely do that. It's travel, I can fly out and do some training. And I have a couple clients in California who fly out to me, or I have a client in Vegas who I fly out to.
Okay.
And so there's that. That's like an option. However, when I see clients like that or do a private class, I also make myself available for like an extra day or two and offer in those states. That way, hey, I wanted to fly out to my state, but I don't have I can't come up with a whole class of people or whatever it may
Sure.
be.
Mm-hmm.
I'll offer that, and that will be on my website as well. So for
Okay.
Turning Point USA, I travel a lot around the country during the school year. So
Okay.
we're in the spring semester right now. So we're planning to go to Colorado. I think they're trying to book me for Florida, Texas, Kansas. So when that happens, my goal is to find ranges and stay an extra day when I'm
Okay.
able to, and book lessons. All of that goes on my website, or I post it on my social media.
And your lessons, is it typically 2 day, 1 day? Like what's a time frame for you?
My first classes are around 4 to 6 hours, and that's going to be a group of people. But my private lessons, my first one is 2 hours, and that's because my first 30 to 45 minutes is we're goal setting, we're figuring out what you need, your background, equipment, and then we get into firearms. So 2 hours for the first lesson, but other than that, it's 1 to 2 hours, I would say. And most of the time my students start with 2 hours, and then they do every other week 1 hour. I have some students who come every week and do 1 hour, and I have some who do 1 month. It depends on their goals, and basically what we do is we talk about it, and then I say, okay, how quickly do you want to do this? Okay, you need to come in this many times, and I can get you squared away.
Yeah, that's awesome, because we talked about before I hit the record button here. There was an event that I went to, the Wildman Experience, and that's when I learned that I didn't know how to shoot. And I mean, the guy did a great job cramming stuff in. We were there for I think 4 days or so, but we did AR training, then we did long range rifles, and we were hitting targets, and we were spotting. It was really cool. But to learn the information, you just see there's so much that goes into it. Even just holding the firearm and knowing exactly what piece does what, and the bump stock, what that's for. And if you don't hold it close enough to your chest, then the bullet won't chamber properly. It's I didn't know any of that. My dad just taught me how to shoot, and now I felt like I was shooting like an idiot.
It's growing up and being okay, it's loaded, point and shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much that goes into it.
Hit something.
That happens all the time. People think, oh, I've been shooting. Yeah, I can go to the range and shoot. And then you take a class and you're like, whoa, I had no idea. It sounds like a cool experience, though.
I'll get you in contact with Johnny. He's a super good dude, just to know. Former special ops, the guy is crazy awesome. But yeah, I mean, so for people who are listening to it, short of going to one of those experiences too, humble yourself to know that you probably don't know everything about a firearm. So go learn, especially if you're going to shoot it, especially in today's climate. We really need to know what the heck we're doing when we're holding something that could take somebody's life. And, it's for protection of the family. Some of the stuff that I was doing, I would have accidentally probably shot my family as I'm scanning close quarter combat. I didn't know what the heck I was doing.
No idea.
Yeah. And you just think because you have a gun, you're good to go. And
it's, a lot of people think that way, but it's like a fire extinguisher. Do you actually know where your fire extinguishers are? Or do you know, you're more likely to have a fire? Do you have a plan for that? Do you know how to use it? I don't think I've ever been told how to use a fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
Right? That's good to know. Do you know how to, CPR? All of these things, you don't realize what goes into it. With just even the little things. It's oh, I've got it somewhere, and when I need it, I'll use it, and I'll be fine. I've got it. I'm safe. Nothing will happen to me now that I have a gun.
Yeah. Nothing could be further from the truth.
I know.
Really, especially if you're like my wife and you're bringing white Ford F-150s around the house randomly. But
it's a mindset thing for sure.
Yeah. So for people who are hey, who would be your ideal client? Who would be your ideal trainee? Who would that look like for you? Who would you really like to have on board, or just pretty much anybody who wants to learn?
Really, anyone who wants to learn. So, I specialize in brand new shooters, and teaching them its basic fundamentals: how to hold it, how to load it, how to if you want to carry a gun on your body, what that process looks like, how to find the equipment. I recommend equipment. We go into all of that, how to draw from the holster if you carry it on your body, going into decision-making drills, all that kind of stuff. We start getting into that. So it's beginner to intermediate, I would say. That is my specialty. I am trained to teach advanced tactics. I don't like to. The reason why is because they expect a military person in that setting. It also, my student changes. It's a different type of student who gets into that type of level. And I love the new shooter and making them feel empowered to feel comfortable with guns. So men or women. I also train kids. I have some 9-year-old students. I just am selective on what targets and guns I use, and the verbiage that I use. So honestly, all age groups, and just like a willingness to learn or talk to me. And if there's something that I can't teach you or I'm trained to do, but I know a group that does it better, I will direct you to those people, because I'm like, hey, I did what I could and I'm damn good at what I do. There's no one who does it like it. But let me bring you to a different person who does the same thing for a different level. And so on and so forth. And so, long story short, new shooters who are nervous, are scared, maybe you don't even want to touch the gun the first time, but you just you need to talk to someone and you want to kind of take that step to see, even if it's for you, or maybe you want to purchase a gun. Those are my people.
Awesome. And I would say that to ask the question, how would they reach out to you? But basically all you have to do is just DuckDuckGo or Google some chick who shoots, and you'll probably get every single thing that you offer, right?
Everything will pop up. Everything will pop up. But some chick who shoots, Paige, Roux, my first and last name, any of that, it'll pop up.
Okay. And then is there anything, to wrap this up, anything that you would want to say to anybody who's nervous, anybody who's looking to learn how to shoot? Is there any advice that you'd want to give them?
I would say, even if you're scared of guns, even if you don't want guns, like, depending on who's listening, I don't know, like, the demographics of your audience. So I'm sure there's some of you who are like, I don't ever want to touch a gun. I don't think that we should own guns. Or maybe you're just nervous around them. Or maybe you're like, I don't know why I need a gun. That's okay. And I'm not here to convince you of that. I'm not here to tell you, well, you need it. I'm here to teach you how to safely use it. So God forbid you do get in a situation, you know how to use one, or know how to control one. And control would be even knowing how to unload it, knowing how to hold it so you don't hurt yourself. If you find something in a room, what do you do with it? Like, I'll help you with that too. I'm not here to convince you. Just, it's important to know and it's important to learn. And I will get you to whatever goal that you have.
Awesome. I appreciate you being on and sharing this. I know it probably took you way longer than, or took your time way more than you had originally anticipated.
Oh, no, I loved it. That's great.
Awesome. Well, thank you again here.
Thank you.